What's up guys? In today's video I'm going to teach you and I'm going to show you how to send data from the Trader 5 to our bot that is going to be intelligent. Yeah, this is going to be very cool, and indeed I'm going to make this as fast as I can. So first things first, I have to show you that here I have the GitHub. So as you can see, this is the file that we are going to implement. And how do we access to this file? First of all, you have to look for my profile, then you come here to repositories, and here you have AI, MACD, RSI, EMA bot. So here you have it, and indeed the file that we are going to generate is inside this bot folder, because this bot folder is all the bot, like with the AI, everything. So we are going to implement this file, which is the one which is going to be sending all the data from the market to our bot. So how do we do this? What do we have to do right now? Right now what we have to do is to open MT5. So you can see that here I have MT5 open, and the thing that we can do is that we can click here on IDE, and now we will have the IDE open. So if you remember, we created a folder here which contains all the MQL5 part regarding this bot. So what we are going to do is that we are going to select this folder, we are going to click on New, Expert Advisor, and we are going to put here AI Client. Next, next, and end. Finish. So here we are going to delete everything and we are going to start by the beginning. So first of all, we are going to define some things. For example, we are going to define the max buffer length, which is the buffer that the socket is going to have. Because in order to transfer data from MQL5 to our Python bot, we are going to use sockets. Also, we are going to define a variable, well, not a variable, a macro, which are 10,000. This will be 10,000 milliseconds, so we will have a timeout of 10 seconds. Perfect. Also, we are going to have some parameters, and these parameters are referred to the connection. So for example, we are going to have one regarding the port, for example, this one, and we can put here, oh my god, we can put here port, and also we are going to have another one regarding the address, and indeed the address is localhost. Perfect. And we can put here that this is the address, but we need one more input, which is how many data do we want to send, because if you remember, this bot is dynamic, because we could use, for example, 10 EMAs, 10 periods, 20, a lot of periods. So we are going to create another input in which we are going to say num data to save, and indeed the variable is the same name. So here this is going to be called number of data to save. Very simple. Perfect. Well, perfect. Yeah. So now we are going to declare another variable which is error to check if we have some errors or not. Also, we have here our socket variable, which is the socket handler. So we need this to manage the socket. And now we start with the indicators, because here we also need to load indicators so that later we send the data. So for example, we need the EMA, because we are using the EMA. So we need a handler, and we need also the array. But we need the same things for the RSI. So we are going to put here, instead of EMA, RSI. And finally, we need the same things for the MACD. But remember that the MACD contains two values. You can see that here. It contains the white thing, which is the MACD, and this line, the red line, which is the signal. So we need to store those two things. So we need one array for the MACD and another one for the signal. That's perfect. So also we are going to need to save the information regarding the candles. So how do we store that information? We have a type called MQL rates. So here we are going to declare an array of this type, and this type contains all the information of a candle. So for example, it contains the close, the open, all that. Okay, perfect. We continue. Also, if you remember, we needed to define a type so that we could classify buys and sells. So we are going to do that. We are going to create here an enumeration, and the enumeration is going to contain sell and buy. That's it, perfect. And let's call it OP types, perfect. And yeah, that's it. Also, from this new type, from this enumeration, we need a variable that is going to show us the last type of the last operation type, last operation. So was it a sell, was it a buy? We are going to use this variable to know that. Perfect. We are going to also need, okay, not this, OP types, oh my god, we are also going to need this variable sent to check if we have sent the message or not. At the beginning it's going to be false, we are going to leave it like that, and now we are going to define two functions. If you remember, I'm going to take them because it is from the previous video, these two functions, the buy cross and the sell cross. So we are going to take them because it's exactly the same. And you can check my previous video if you do not know what I'm doing. So, well, not the previous of the previous. Perfect. So now that we have these two functions, we are ready to go. We are ready to start the logic behind the bot. And indeed, in this bot, we are going to do things well. We are going to handle errors. So here, let me put here on init, and remember that this event, what is doing is saying, okay, whenever we put to work the bot, I want you to execute whatever is inside here. So this is a good opportunity to remember, load the information regarding the handlers of the indicators. So that's what we are going to do. So for example, regarding the RSI, how did we load this? We have it here, RSI, so we can take all this and boom, RSI, remember, this is the actual symbol in which you put the bot. So for example, if you put it in the Bitcoin dollar, it will automatically take Bitcoin dollar. The same with the period. If you put it in the 15-minute time frame, it will take automatically that. Then 14 periods for the RSI and apply to the price close. But we need to handle if we can load this indicator, because maybe MT5 says, hey, at this moment, I don't know why I cannot do this. So in order to handle that, we are going to use this thing. We are going to say, if the handler after initializing it is invalid, we are going to print, hey brother, print error, and we can say here, RSI failure. We put this, and now we put here get last error, which will show a message with that error. And indeed, we have to do the same thing, the exact same thing for the EMA. So for example, this is EMA, and remember that we did not initialize the EMA in this way. We need to use this. So we come here, we change this call, and okay, we have the EMA. So here we are going to use IMA. And one thing is that here you can see that it changes a little bit, but it depends on the arguments. So here you can see that this is the period, this is the shift, we don't have any shift, and this is the method, which is mode EMA, etc. Perfect. So finally, we need to do the same thing with the MACD. So we are going to take all these and we are going to copy it here. Perfect. So MACD, oh my god, I'm opening one strange thing. MACD, let me take it, MACD, and remember again that this is not the way of initializing the MACD. So we are going to take it right here and we are going to put it here. That's fine. Yep. And okay, instead of IMA, we are going to put IMACD failure. So now what we can do is the following. Okay, this is just to print, but here we can say if the RSI handler is equal to invalid handle, or we can take all this so it is faster. The one of the EMA is wrong, EMA-H is wrong, or the one of the MACD is wrong. We are not going to do anything. So we are going to say, okay, there's an error, and we return true. Well, we put true, and we put here return. That's it. We are not going to do anything else. So, okay. Okay, the next thing is initializing the arrays. And in order to initialize the arrays, it is the same thing as this. So do you remember this function? And the only thing that this function is doing is that whenever you put a 0, whenever you access the zero value in an array, that one is going to be the last one of the market. So what I mean is that, for example, if we go to the last candle, it will refer to this candle, to the last one. Okay, we have initialized all that. And now we need to initialize the socket. And the socket usually it gives errors. So what we are going to do here is that socket, that handler that we created before, well, that variable, socket create, sorry. So we are going to put here socket create. And we don't need to send anything else. And what we are going to do now is that, okay, is the socket an invalid handle? So let me check. Okay, I'm used to JavaScript, and that's why I'm putting 3. I was thinking about it. I said, So do not put 3, just put 2. Okay, socket, is this an invalid handle? In case it is, we are going to print, and we are going to put just socket failure. That's it. So we close this, and we are going to put error to true. There's another way to stop the bot, like, hey, you shut it down and you do not allow another event to be called, but for now I want to leave it like this. Perfect. Otherwise, if this works fine, we are going to connect. So we are going to say if socket connect. We use the socket here, socket. The server, so the server is basically the address, then the port, and finally the timeout, which we have defined here. You can see that this is very useful. We are going to check if this is okay, because this returns a Boolean variable. And if you do not know what it returns, you can select it, press F1, and the help will come here. So you can see that this returns a Boolean variable. So if this is true, it means that we are fine, we are ready to go. So we are going to print, for example, print, and we are going to say info connection established. Okay, so we know that everything is fine. Else, we are going to put here print, and we are going to say error socket connect failure, because we couldn't connect. Failure. And again, let's do the get last error, so we can see the detailed error. Perfect. So here we should also put that error to true, because there was an error. So we put this. Fine. And actually we have finished with the onInit function. Now it comes the very easy part. Why am I saying the very easy part? Because it is truly very, very, very similar to what we have done in a previous video. So we are going to put here onTick, and onTick we are going to do, if there is an error, this is why I'm saying that there is another way to stop the bot, like, because here it is still working, but it is just that if there is an error, we just do nothing. But for now, for the moment, this is okay. Perfect. So now what we have to do, remember that we have to load all the information, and you can see that here we are loading all that information. I'm not going to explain everything here, because I already explained it in the previous video. But a brief summary is that, first of all, copy buffer is to copy in the array the information of an indicator. So for example, the EMA, we are going to copy the values. So for example, we are going to copy this value, this other value, this other value, this other, and here we have several arguments. For example, buffer num. This buffer num refers to, for example, if we have in an indicator more than one value, such as in the MACD, we need to say, hey, which one do we want? So if we say the 0, the main line, we say the MACD. But if we say 1, the signal line, we say the signal line. But in cases such as the EMA or the RSI, in which we just have one thing, which is just one line in the indicator, just put a 0. That's it. Okay, later we have another, which is the, this is the buffer num, the starting position. From where do you want to take values? So for example, we are going to take it from the 0, from the last, how many values, and finally the array in which you are going to store that information. You can see that in the MACD I use this twice because I need to store the MACD and the signal. Perfect. Copy rates, copy rates is just to store the candles. So with this to store the candles, the information of the candles. So it is actually almost the same, but you have to say the symbol, the period, then from where do you want to start taking values, how many values, and finally the array. So we store that in this array. Perfect. So now we are going to do the following. Now that we have the data, we need to check if, okay, is there a by cross and is there a cross? Because remember that the bot worked in that way. Whenever there's a cross, we are going to ask the AI if we should open or not a position. So the AI is going to tell us, hey, open. So by cross, here, if this is true or there's a sell cross, there's a cross, we are checking if there is a cross, we are going to do some things. But also we need to check that we haven't sent any data. So we do not ask the bot all the time, because look, for example, here, this is a time frame of 15 minutes. And in 15 minutes, there may be 1,000 ticks. So we don't want to ask the AI 1,000 times if we should or we should not open an operation in this candle. Just once is okay. So that is why we are going to use this. Perfect. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to create a variable string data in which we are going to store the data. Perfect. Also, now this is truly the same as this. So we are going to take all this. Remember that in my previous video, I have all the explanation of this code, but I'm going to give you a brief summary. So for example, here, I'm loading the EMA data. I have the EMA data here in the array, and I'm just putting this in a string. So for example, if I'm loading 10 values, I'm going to store in a string these 10 values. Perfect. The same thing for the RSI. Here also, I'm normalizing the value because this returns a lot of digits. So now with this, I say that, hey, for example, here there are, let's say, 6 digits. So now we are just going to have 6 digits and no more, because we do not need more digits. So then we transform the number to a string, and that's it. The same thing for this, and the same thing for this, for the MACD and the signal. So now what we have to do is that remember that we had some extra values for the bot. For example, let me put it here. Let's write it. So for example, we needed to check if the current price is above or below the EMA. So how do we check this? String, let's put here, above, below. If the last close is above the last EMA, then this means that, it is above. So we put here a 1. In any other case, this condition is not fulfilled, so we put here a 0. Perfect. But finally, we needed to check the cross type. So for example, we can put here cross type as another string, an empty string, and now we just checked here if we had a cross. But we also need to check whether or not we have, which type of close do we have, of cross, sorry. So we are going to say if it is a by cross, okay, perfect. We are going to put here cross type, and we are going just to put a 1. Perfect. I forgot here to put the comma. So let's put a comma, because this is what the bot is going to receive. Like it is going to receive a list basically. And yeah. So we have this comma, and also we need to say that the last operation type is a byte. So we put here byte. Perfect. We have to do exactly the same for the cell. So we put here else if, and instead of byte we are going to put cell cross. The cross type is going to be in this case a 0, and the last operation is going to be a cell. That's it. And now we basically have all the data. So what do we have to do now? We have to put it together, because you can see that this is in one variable, this is in another one, but this one is empty. So what we are going to do is that we are going to put everything in this variable. So EMA data plus RSI data. The order is important. So first the EMA data, then the RSI data, then the MACD. Oh my god. MACD data, then the signal. Oh my god. Signal data. And finally, we are going to put the above, below, and the type. So cross type. Perfect. So we have this. What we can do now is that we can print that we are sending information. So we just sent information. Let's put information sent. So remember that we are going to execute this on every candle. So on every candle we should see a message like this. Perfect. Now we have the data in this variable, but the bot doesn't. We need to send that data to him. How? We are going to use the socket. And the socket needs an array of characters. So we have this here, and now we are going to say len string to char array. Perfect. And we send the string, which is data. Now we need to send, where do we want to store this? The rec, which is the string, but just in an array of characters. And finally, we are going to delete -1 because this automatically puts at the end one character that we do not want. So now that we have this, we are going to use the function socket send, which is here. And you can see that we need a socket, the buffer, which is this, and finally the length of the buffer, which is this. So socket send, we use the socket, then the buffer, which is the string. So let's put here rec, and finally the length of the message. That's it. Perfect. Now we need to put that, hey, we have sent a message, so this is true. But if we leave this like this, this will not ever execute again. It will just do it in a candle, but never again. How do we check that it does it on every candle? So we can create here a timer and say event set timer, and we can say, okay, give me how many seconds are in a candle. So this is what this function is doing. It's giving us how many seconds is in a candle in the current time frame, because if you are in 1 hour, this number will not be the same as if you are in 1 minute time frame. So we set the timer, and whenever the timer gets triggered, what we are going to do is that we are going to reset that variable. So we are going to say, okay, void on timer. We are going to put here that send is equal to false. So now we reset that and we kill the timer. So the timer is not every period doing that. Okay, but we need to do one last thing. And this last thing is that, okay, whenever we close the bot, we need to close some things. So we are going to do void on the init, and we are going to say const int reason. We need to use, well, we need to take this argument because this function has that argument. So whenever we do that, what we are going to do is that, okay, we are going to send a message to close the connection. So we are going to create again this, like in the same way as we did here. So we can take all, we are going to send a message through the socket. And now what we need to do is that instead of data, we need to send end connection. Perfect. So now, whenever the bot sees this message, end connection is going to shut up, and yeah, finish. Perfect. So now after this, what we need to do is to close the socket. So now we do this socket. Wait, not this, sorry. Socket. Perfect. So guys, this is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. You can see that it is very simple, and indeed, if you understood this video, it's actually more or less the same, but the difference is that we are using a socket to send data, and you can see that we are using errors. So later when you load the bot, you can see if it worked or not. In this video, we are not going to test it. We are going to test it later in the next video, in which we create the bot, we start creating the bot. So in that video, we will test everything, and I will show you how to manage everything. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, give it a like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next one.